Today, I'm swimming with dolphins, and tomorrow, I'll have to swim with sharks. Do you think it's scary? Nah, you were wrong. I've been used to it for a long time, because I'm a mermaid. Okay, I'm not a mermaid. My name is Cynthia, and I can hold my breath for as long as 30 minutes. This enables me to participate in water shows. I am usually splashing together with fish wearing a mermaid costume, but sometimes I have to escape from predators. And this is a total mess. I almost got caught by a shark once. There were children among the spectators of the show, and I was very afraid to cause an emotional trauma in them. Well, they didn't know that the shark wasn't real. The mechanical shark got out of control, and I had to rush about a huge aquarium for half an hour in order to not get into its mouth. The children were really amused by everything that was going on, while for me, that fun almost ended in tragedy. I'd been underwater for too long and couldn't hold my breath anymore. It was getting harder and harder for me to breathe in the water depths. But workers could not cope with the shark. I wasn't able to get out of the aquarium either, because as luck would have it, the automatic exit hatch jammed. I felt like I was about to die. Everything got blurry before my eyes. But fortunately, the shark was turned off, and the hatch was opened while I was rescued from the aquarium. After this incident, I continued to work anyway. I like making children happy. They really think I'm a fairy mermaid. They want to take a selfie with me and ask for an autograph. I am especially glad to see the smiles of the kids from the orphanage. They sincerely rejoice when they see me. My performances make them believe in a fairy tale. My job is a real pleasure. I've been able to hold my breath underwater for a long time since childhood. I started at 10 minutes, and then I could easily do it for 20 minutes. And finally, I set my own record of holding my breath during half an hour. I hoped that in the future I could beat it as well. One could read about me in newspapers. I was invited to the TV, as well as popular YouTube shows. I became a local celebrity, but I decided to keep a low profile and continued working in the entertainment center, amusing children and adults. Why not? I actually received good money for it. I was much wealthier than my classmates. I could afford buying nice clothes, the latest gadgets, and even my own car. Many people were jealous and didn't even hide their emotions. One day, my classmate Tom left a bad review about a water show that I participated in. He stated that he did not see any emotion in my performance, and the show itself was really boring. Unfortunately, many residents of our city have watched this video. Moreover, Tom's dad was a journalist, and with great pleasure, he shared the review of his son in different media. Show attendance dropped, and the management blamed me for everything. "You are not trying hard enough. We will cut your salary." Do you think I'll try better after this? "The number of viewers has decreased because of your negligent attitude to work." But it's lies! There is not a word of truth in this article. I was arguing with my boss for a long time, but he was adamant. I don't know how this story would have ended if, after one of the performances, 2 viewers, a mother and her little daughter, had not come up to my boss. "We read those terrible reviews," the woman started talking. "We have the video of the performance being discussed. Watch it, and you will immediately understand that this is a blatant lie." The woman turned on the video and handed the phone to my boss. And in that video, I was, as always, at my best. My boss was forced to admit his mistake. He invited me into his office and apologized. "I overreacted. Go on working." But my boss didn't stop there. He decided to punish that young guy who tried to destroy his best show. So he filed a lawsuit against the publishers for libel, and also achieved banning of the video on Tom's blog. As a result, the entire channel was blocked. "I'll pay you back," said my classmate to me. "Good luck, moron," I answered imperturbably. "Next time, you will think before lying about others." "But I didn't lie. You and your show suck." I no longer listened to that idiot because he had gotten what he deserved. However, I rejoiced too early, since there was another problem. I noticed that I could spend much more time underwater than before. First, I could do it for 40 minutes, and then even 50 minutes. I still managed to break my own record. But at the same time, it was getting harder and harder for me to breathe. Oxygen was literally burning my lungs. One day during the lesson, I started choking. I had difficulty breathing and felt like a fish washed ashore. Cynthia, are you all right? The teacher asked worriedly, noticing that something was wrong with me. No. What happened? I'm short of breath. This was the only thing I could pronounce. Ha! Do you have Gill's failure? Tom sneered. I could not answer anything. I began to lose consciousness. An ambulance was immediately called for me, and even an oxygen mask did not make me come to my senses. The doctors were gripped with panic. Water. I want to get into the water, I moaned quietly. What nonsense! The doctor was taken aback. I immediately need to get into the water. Fortunately, my parents have already come to the school. Being gripped by panic and fearing for my life, they decided to listen to me and not to the doctor. I am so grateful to my parents for the fact that they acted contrary to common sense, put me in the back seat of the car, and brought me to the aquarium where I used to spend so much time. I plunged into the water and instantly felt good and relieved. I was racing with one of my favorite partners in the show, a dolphin, and the only thing that my parents could do was watch everything that was going on with their mouths open in amazement. So, what had happened to me? I was thinking about this when I came home with my parents. It was getting more and more difficult for me to breathe the air, and I felt so good underwater. The answer made me literally jump up in the backseat of my parents' car. I'm actually turning into a mermaid. Oh no. Will I really have to spend my whole life in an aquarium? Or even worse, in the sea? The thought scared me so much. I was crying into my pillow half the night. Why just half of it? Because I felt sick again, and I could barely breathe. My parents had to call my boss in the middle of the night and ask him to let us in the aquarium. So, under the supervision of my parents, I was swimming in the aquarium all night. Everything that was happening scared me terribly. What will happen next? What if I get covered with ugly scales? What if I will have to eat seaweed instead of spaghetti? And if you think my fears were unfounded, then you were wrong. I began to refuse food, even from my favorite products. I didn't find them tasty anymore, and the mere smell of them was disgusting for me. When Dad brought my favorite cheeseburger, I felt sick. But I was eagerly eating laminaria, and then switched to other types of seaweed. Dad had to catch them, and Mom had to fry or boil them. In addition, I started eating mussels, oysters, and scallops, although I hated them before. Then I couldn't think of anything which would seem tastier to me. Oh no, SOS, I'm turning into a fish! Do you think that's the end of the story? Of course not. I began to understand the dolphin language. They were enthusiastically telling me about underwater life and even warned that the shrimp were about to take over the world. That's all I needed. It was very unusual to spend half the day underwater talking with dolphins, but this was so boring. I wanted to go to the cinema and chat with my friends instead of constantly being underwater, and I miss the internet so much. My parents tried to take me to the family doctor, but he could not say anything clear about what was going on with me. In the meantime, my old buddy, Tom, decided to make my boring life more interesting. You remember that he promised to take revenge on me, don't you? Well, he did it. He started bullying me again. This time, he wrote in his Instagram post that in our aquarium, sea animals were kept in terrible conditions. Aquariums are dirty and too cramped. Animals suffer, and the owners of the entertainment center only think about how to make more money. I don't know who believed Tom after his previous fake story, but our entertainment center was closed for inspection. I came back home that day in tears. My parents immediately understood that something terrible was going on. What happened? Mom asked worriedly. Perhaps our entertainment center will be closed. But why? Tom complained about the poor conditions in which the animals are kept. But this is a lie. Dad was indignant. I know, but this is his favorite method. He is capable of doing anything. My parents glanced at each other. They understood that I couldn't live without water. They had to fill the whole bathtub with seawater for me. I was sitting in it for hours, now and then dipping my head into the water. And it was actually more boring than swimming in the aquarium because even dolphins were absent there. At least I could play and chat with them before. But this is not the whole story. Do you remember me saying that I stopped eating human food? So then I felt sick from fresh water and could drink only seawater. Daughter, it's dangerous. You must not drink seawater. My mother was trying to persuade me. But what can I do? This is the only way how I can quench my thirst. I myself understood that it was dangerous, so I tried not to drink too much seawater. However, the less I was drinking, the thirstier I was. My usual life was crumbling before my eyes. The checks in the entertainment center were continuing, and I could not go to school. My school friends turned their backs on me because I didn't spend time with them at all. I tried to explain to them that I could not stay without seawater for a long time, but they didn't believe me. They thought I just got snotty. All this made me really upset, and I became withdrawn. My parents, seeing me suffering, decided to help and offered to take me to the ocean. Well, of course! I can't believe I didn't think of it before. It's much more fun than a bathtub filled with water. There is salty water and fun and sea inhabitants that will cheer me up. I began to spend more and more time in the ocean, collecting shells and beautiful pebbles, racing with fish. Once I swam very far from the shore and suddenly noticed some figure on the water. Curiosity got the better of me, so I headed towards the mysterious floating object. The object turned out to be a raft and a guy lying on it. He was unconscious. His skin was sunburned and his clothes looked more like rags. He was definitely in trouble and was on the verge of life and death. Without thinking twice, I began to push the raft towards the shore. But simply swimming and pushing something in the water are two totally different things. I was running out of energy very quickly. I had to stop and spend several minutes underwater to come to my senses. I managed to push the raft to the shore. People were already running towards me, noticing that something was happening in the water. They dialed 911, so doctors were already waiting for the injured guy. I wanted to go to the hospital together with him and make sure that nothing threatened his life. The act on my part was not very wise. I had to spend several hours in the emergency room of the hospital, and in order not to faint, now and then I had to run to the restroom, turn on the tap, and keep my face under the running water. It gave me relief, although slight. I couldn't abandon the guy I had saved. Finally, I was led into the stranger's ward. He was already conscious.
"Is it you who saved me?"
he whispered.
"You were so young and brave. What is your name?"
"Cynthia," I introduced myself.
"Thank you, Cynthia. I'm Nick."
"Not at all, Nick. I could not have done otherwise. I would never have left you there. But how did you end up in the middle of the sea?"
"The ship which I was sailing crashed. I was washed ashore on some uninhabited island. I built a raft and was sailing on it for several days. And then I ran out of food and water. The heat became unbearable and I passed out. I thought I would die, but then you showed up, my miracle and savior. How can I repay you? Ask whatever you want. My family is very rich and influential. I can fulfill any of your wishes."
And I asked him to help resume the work of the Marine Entertainment Center again. Thanks to his ties, Nick was not only able to prove that the conditions in which the animals were kept was good, but also sued Tom for libel. Tom and his family then faced a huge fine. Nick and I became friends and started spending a lot of time together. He was waiting for me on the shore while I enjoyed swimming. One day, he asked how I was able to hold my breath for so long. "I don't know," I answered honestly. At first, I could only be underwater for half an hour, but now I can't do without it for a long time. I told him all about my problems and assumed that I was turning into a mermaid. Nick decided to figure everything out and sent me to the best clinic in the city for examination. Tests showed that I had a rare genetic disease, changing the structure of my whole body. This explained all my oddities and dependence on water. Doctors warned me, saying that I could cope with the disease, but the treatment would be expensive. Nick said that money was not a problem. 6 months have passed since the day when I started treatment, and now I can live a normal life again and stay in the water for only half an hour. And this is all thanks to Nick, who the ocean brought me together with. How would you use your abilities like mine? Give your answers in the comments. Click on the thumbs up button and share the video with your friends. And share the video with your friends. And share the